Also with us this evening is manning our social media desk is our WGME anchor, Jana Barnello. Jana?
Hey, Mark, thank you so much. Thank you, our viewers, for joining us tonight. This is going to be a great evening. We have a great studio audience who have some great questions, and I'm sure you do too. So I'm going to be manning the social media desk, reading your tweets, reading your Facebook comments, and here is how you get in touch with me so I can get in touch with them. Go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/WGME13. You can post your comments there, your questions there. As you hear something interesting, just say, hey, Jana, what's up with this? I want to know something, and I will try my best to get your question on the air. And then if you're a Twitter follower, perhaps use the hashtag #YourVoiceYourFuture. We're following that as well. Hopefully we can get as many of your comments and questions on the air as possible throughout the next 90 minutes. Mark, back to you.
Thanks, Jana. I know we're getting a lot of activity from our viewers at home. Jana, what do you have for us?
Mark, people are really starting to grab a lot of traction about teachers and guns. We talked about that the last time, and after that, there was the discussion continued. Magazine size continues to be a big topic, and I'm really excited because my favorite Twitter hashtag is really picking up some steam, the Your Voice, Your Future hashtag. I want to read you some tweets we've been getting. First, let's take a tweet from Jeffrey, I believe. I don't have it in front of me, guys, so you're going to put it up. There it is. Okay. How can you keep high-capacity magazines out of the hands of criminals? The war on drugs was successful, right? And, okay. A lot of the crowd like that one. Let's go to this next one. Alan says, fewer guns, more Zumba. Words to live by. Words to live by. Okay. All right. Well, okay, Alan. Moving on. No comment on that one. Let's get to another snap poll that we put out on Facebook. Now, you guys in the audience talking about the news media and saying you don't think our coverage has been fair. This has to deal with news media and pop culture. 48% of people in our snap poll say pop culture plays a role in contributing to violent events such as mass shootings, 48%. So let's get to a question, a comment from a viewer as well about this topic. And say, who is this? This is Joe. Joe says they should be looking at the videos such as Grand Theft Auto and others that Hollywood are putting out. So what do you guys think? Does news media play a role in mass shootings? Is it video games? Is it parents? This is a huge topic that we really haven't touched on yet. So let's get our panel talking about that, Mark.
Stavros, we're going to go with you. As I mentioned, we're getting a lot of social media contact from our viewers at home, so we're going to go to our social media desk. Jana, what do you have for us?
Oh my goodness, Mark. People are pouring in with comments right now. What's trending, what they're talking about, the magazine size limits, limits to the Second Amendment. How far does it extend? And also, interestingly enough, teachers with guns. That's what I want to show you next. Our snap poll on Facebook, 71% of people that took our poll on our Facebook page say they don't want teachers armed in schools. 71%. I also sent out that tweet. I asked people on Twitter what they thought about that, and I got a couple different responses. Chuck Fiello says there are too many risks involved to have teachers with guns. A student actually said no. He said, Connor Whittam said, no, as a student, I would not trust all of my teachers. This has been taken a little too far. On the other side of that, Jay, who's actually in our audience tonight, said only if the teachers are trained and comfortable with the high responsibility of carrying a firearm. So this one is a really emotional debate. Next thing I want to get to here on social media, we got an email from Bill Vincent. I wanted to read his comment. I thought it was an interesting point that we haven't really talked about yet. Bill is from Bridgeton, and he says, why is it that when we're in the top 3 safest states in the nation, the other top 2 being New Hampshire and Vermont, and also one of the states with the most guns per capita, as are the other 2, that you folks want to change all that? Would you rather we were another Chicago? What will it take before you learn that the proliferation of firearms is not the problem? So thank you, Bill, for sending that in. Thank you, audience, for clapping. I read that very well, I think. And the last thing I want to get to, pat myself on the back, why don't I? Okay, the last thing I want to get to is a question. It's kind of a question comment. We got a graphic there. This is from W. Allen White, and he says, the Second Amendment is not absolute. I hope we can agree people should not be allowed to own fighter jets, tanks, or missiles, and I think that the chief kind of addressed this. Let's talk about that some more, Mark. I think that is an interesting topic. We talk about the limits to free speech. Don't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. I learned that in my comm law class. But what are the limits to the Second Amendment? Mark, back to you.
Thank you, Jana. We're getting a lot of social media contact, a lot of interest from our viewers at home, and I'm going to go to our social media desk. Jana, what do you have for us?
Well, Mark, people are really talking about that initial snap poll that we took here in the audience. Could anything have prevented the Sandy Hook Elementary tragedy? Now, according to our Facebook snap poll, 84% of people say no. Here in our audience, I think the majority also said no, nothing could have been done. That is the same for our snap poll. 84% say nothing could have been done. I want to read one of your comments. I think the first one we have is from Tom Ryan. He says, he's from South Portland, he says, armed guards in schools, that would have stopped the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. Or Adam Lanza's mother, keeping her guns locked up, common sense and education. Our second comment is from Elise Morton. She says, no, gun crimes go up in gun-free zones. Lanza chose a school because it was an easy target, being in a gun-free zone. So obviously a lot of issues to debate, especially when you're talking about what could have prevented Sandy Hook Elementary. Some say yes, some say no. But we want to get to another question from one of our viewers. This one is from Scott. He says, if I am being attacked by a drug-crazed killer, why do I only get 10 rounds of ammunition, but a police officer gets 20? And Mark, he posed this question to Chief Sawchuk. Definitely want to see what the chief has to say about that, and also our other panelists. So, Mark, I'm going to send it back to you.
Great, thanks, Jana. All right, and actually I want to kind of get Jana in here one more time because we're actually running late at the end of our program, but we want to get our viewers at home one more time to join in on this. Jana, what do you have for us?
Well, Mark, let's get right to the Twitter feed, the hashtag Your Voice, Your Future. The conversation is still going on there. If we can pull up the Twitter feed for you, show you just what's going on. We've got people talking about what the chief said about, he's not saying he wants to ban guns. There's a lot of debate going on here, guys. We're loving this. Keep those tweets coming even after this is over. But let's read some emails, too. We're talking about Facebook and Twitter. Oh, yeah, what about email? The dinosaur now, right? So let's read a comment. This one is from Jim Quinton. He's in Sanford. He says, the chief stated that police should have larger capacity magazines and citizens to be able to protect themselves and citizens. I agree they should have the best equipment available. However, the sad truth is that police usually show up after the crime simply due to the response time. Why shouldn't people have the best equipment available to protect themselves? Are their lives worth less than that of a police officer? Next comment. The next email that we got actually has to do with background checks. Some specifics here from Flyer in Richmond. How do you propose an individual selling or giving a firearm performing a background check? And if there is to be a fee, how small how small should that fee be? And who should pay for it? And that kind of goes right into the other question we want to pull up on the screen for you right now from Charles Shaw. He says, given that we have had background checks for many years with no appreciable effect on violent crime, what makes any reasonable person believe a check criminals know they cannot pass should be expanded? So background checks, kind of swinging back around that. I know it's one of the first things we talked about, but maybe we can close out talking about background checks again, because that seems to be the first step with people who are pro-gun control. Say, hey, let's focus on background checks first. So let's get back to that, Mark.
Okay, and we're almost out of time. I think they're going to let us run over another moment or two, but I'm going to go right to the chief for a moment.